Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Grind Time podcast, where we are turning our to do list into our did list. During this podcast, I will talk you through everything that I did today as an entrepreneur. I will do this daily at the end of the night, at the end of the grind. This ritual of reading through my did list really helps me to appreciate and find gratitude in the things that I got done as opposed to worrying about the things that I did not get done today. And so I hope that at the end of this episode and every other episode, you feel encouraged to move forward and continue on your journey on this grind. My name is Evelyn LaChapelle, and here's what I did today. So I'm just going to jump right into my did list. If this is your first time here, the practice is keeping our to-do list very close to our did list. So on the left side of my page, I have a running list of everything that I need to get done. But on the right side of my page, opposed to just checking them off because my did list just grows outrageously, I created another tab, or the right side of the page. I use the right side of page exclusively to keep track of everything that I did during the day, so that at the end of the night, I can read through it and say, whew, you got something done. And so here's the list of the things that I got done today. So, I started the day off. I am running a new ad, optimizing for purchase. I've mentioned before, I am currently in a course that is teaching Meta, Facebook, and Instagram ads. And so I have been taught that when you're running your top of the funnel ads, the ads that people will see for the first time, that you want to optimize for those people to view content. And so you're able to gauge what audience views your stuff, stays long enough, watches your videos for longer than 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds. And so that the second time around, you can ask Meta to target people who have viewed your content and now ask them to purchase something. That's the missing piece. I was getting all kind of views, but I wasn't getting any purchases. And so I woke up this morning. Sometimes you have to sleep on it and for it to make sense. So I woke up this morning and ran an ad optimizing for purchase. Then I emailed those new contacts. So I mentioned before, I was vending last weekend, and I go to conferences. I show up to these vending opportunities. I meet so many people. I collect so many business cards, and very rarely do I actually follow up with them and the conversations that I had with them. And I do believe that I've probably missed out on a lot of opportunity because of that. And so this year, I am making it a point to respond or to follow up with people within 24 to 48 hours. I might have been in the 72nd hour, but I sent out those emails saying, hey, it was, great connecting with you. And then I also take those emails and I add them to my MailChimp email list so that they will begin to receive newsletters from me weekly. So that's a way to, add to your list. Don't forget to add the people that you meet in person. Um, Paid tuition. I cleaned up my favorites tab. So if you're like me, you save all of the tabs that are important to you, like my email, my calendar, just recently added my podcast links, like all of these things that we've saved. I had things that were saved from years ago that I don't need anymore, things from previous jobs that I don't need anymore. And so it was slowing down my process of finding the things that I needed. So I went through there and deleted some of those. So you should too. Delete some of it's clutter, right? Like the name of this game is clarity. The more clarity that you have, the easier it is to get from point A to point B. It's like a road map. The less things on the road, the faster you can get there. So I cleaned up my favorites tab. I also had to clean up my to-do list. I've mentioned this in the previous episodes that, and especially during since the recording of this podcast, I'm starting to like take notes of the things that I want to say to you. And so my to-do list side of my notebook had gotten really, really cluttered. So I actually put out another notebook and pulled out another notebook and pulled out my long to-do list, everything that had not been done. I'm sure I left some things lost in the sauce somewhere, but I had to pull those things out so that I could make time to get to my to-do list. Again, because the name of the game is clarity, making room, clearing out the space in our heads. Then I got in my email and received a notification that I had been nominated for a social justice champion at the Women's Canna Awards this year. And so I was super excited to accept that nomination. And with accepting that nomination, I had to do, like submit my pictures, photos, website, all of that. So there was a form that came along with accepting that nomination. So that was super exciting. Nominated for Social Justice Champion at the Women Canna Awards, where I'm also a judge this year. So I'm excited for the opportunities that will come from that. It's a special recognition award for the things that I've gotten accomplished in the social justice space in the cannabis industry. Then I watched, what did I watch? Because I love watching a good podcast. I watched 0 to 6 Figures with Journals. As you know, I am publishing a grind time journal to help us all start to track our did list, so that I'm not just preaching this to you. We will all have a journal soon that we will be able to work through and keep track of everything that we've gotten done daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. And so before you launch anything, go tap in with the people who've already done it. So I literally YouTube like launching a journal, selling a journal, how to sell a journal. And I found a really good video. It was from 0 to 6 figures with journals. And it was a very quick video. And I got so many tips out of that. I got where I should be printing, where I can print the book on demand, the different covers, and the different options on Alibaba for journals. So that was great. And I got some stuff done. Like I executed some things after watching that video. Yeah. Next on the list was I designed the Grind Time Journal. A couple days ago, I mentioned that I went on Fiverr and I hired someone to design the journal for me. Like I gave them a rough draft. This is what I want on the cover. Here's a definition that I would like to include. Here's a note from the author. Here's what I like the pages to look like. Please design it. I just felt so good about myself delegating that to someone else. I spent $166. And then they sent me the first draft, and I kid you not, to my 4-year-old nephew could have done that, and I could have saved $166. So, and then because this is how your vision works, sometimes you really have to do it yourself. So I got up, I got on Canva, it was late, and I went and designed the journal myself, and it looks so much better. I'm completely happy with it. It took me about 2 hours, maybe about 2 hours. I still got a few tweaks that I need to do, but it's designed and I did it myself. And now I need to figure out if I can get my $166 back. And so I did that. And then I created a QR code to put on the back page of the journal that will direct folks to the podcast, because you're always wanting to create like a funnel of sorts of people. So if someone hasn't found the podcast, but they have found the journal, now they can find the podcast. So you always want to connect back to something else that you're doing. If it's not my website or the podcast, it could be I'm directing folks to my nonprofit, Ladies Loving and Living. So you always want to add some line of connection on your product. So that's what I did. And I use flow code. So if you have not ever generated a QR code, it's super easy. Flow code allows you to generate 3 of them for free. Here's my cheat code, because I got about 6 of them, about 9 of them. I just used a different email address. And so I did have to use a different email address to get that one for free. But now I got room for 2 more QR codes. So That's some free game for you. Flow code up to 3 for free, and it will track, so you get your analytics too. You can see how many people have scanned it. It's really good for flyers. I really use the QR codes during event times when I'm doing flyers for events, and so people can scan and get their tickets. So, yeah, QR code. That was free game. That is what I did today as an entrepreneur. It does not always sound like I did enough. Sometimes I'll read that to you and I'll be like, that's all you did. And I always want to say, and that's all I did today. And so I have to remind myself, and I want to remind you that the purpose of this is not to like revisit what you did or to talk through it, but the purpose is really to give it a quick read so that you can acknowledge that throughout this entire day, these are the things you got done. And they really do move the needle forward when you are taking into account the things that you got done yesterday and the day before and the day before. And so my quick read would sound like this. I am I ran a new ad optimizing for purchase. I emailed those new contacts and I added them to my MailChimp list. I paid tuition. I cleaned up my favorites tab. I cleaned up my to-do list. I accepted my nomination and completed that form. I watched a YouTube video about creating journals, 0 to 6 figures. I designed the grind time journal, and then I created a QR code for the journal to direct folks to the podcast. I got some shit done today. I hope you did too. I hope that this helps. Please subscribe, learn, and like. That is how we grow podcasts. I hope that it has been encouraging to you. And go visit calltheweeklady.com. You might find something you like. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.